welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carly and I run a handmade small business called Marie Lynn Made. And today I figured we could make a boxy pouch together or a boxy bag, a makeup pouch, anything like that. I call them essentials pouches because to me it just makes sense. Like it can hold all of your essentials, you know, when you're traveling or anything like that. So I've had a couple questions about my dimensions and like the zippers I use. So I will put all of that information in the description box for you. And I'm also going to put it up here on the screen somewhere, either on either side. But that way you guys can go along with me and make one for yourself. So I use one big piece here and we're going to quilt it. And I quilt it, I guess it would be long ways, so we're just going to go up there. And I've just got my little quilting guide bar there and my regular presser foot. So yeah, and when I'm quilting, I like to do my stitch length at a 4. And then when we're doing like, you know, construction seams, I go about like a 2, 2.5. So this is going to be our first step, and we're going to quilt this giant piece of fabric. I do it that way and then I'll cut it down to its 2 pieces. I just think it goes a little bit faster, but I could be completely wrong. But that's just the way that I've done them. And if you guys want to do it in 2 separate pieces, you can do that as well. Just remember to allow for shrinkage when you're quilting and your dimensions and stuff. So, and all of the dimensions will be what works for my sewing machine and my presser foot. I want to say it's a 3/8, like not quite a 1/2 inch, but it's like a 3/8 inch seam allowance. So we're gonna get started and quilting this piece here. So these are our 2 pieces, and what I did after the whole long piece was quilted, I just trimmed it down to the sizes that I needed, and then we got these 2 pieces out of it. So I've got those 2 pieces, and then I have our 2 pieces for the liners here. And on one side of this, I like to do my label, and I'll put my stitch length back down. When I do my labels, what works best for my machine and like lining it up to where it'll like will meet around, I do a 3. So I'm just gonna grab a label here and we're gonna find the top, and I don't measure them. I just fold it right in half, and I'll just kind of like put a little crease there. And that's how I know where the middle is, and I'll find the middle of my label here, right there. And then we're just gonna sew our label on. And I try to go as slow as possible sewing these labels, but this sewing machine, the pedal foot down there is so sensitive. So I just try to go, you know, as slow as I can. And then I'll bring that there and we'll line it up. Okay. And then I'll trim the threads off of that. I'm actually like so afraid of getting a new sewing machine. I don't know if you guys have been through that. But like, I don't know, I'm just so used to this one and it's not bad. I just, you know, it doesn't have the features that I want of like the auto thread cutting and I don't even know what else. The auto thread cutting is really like, that's really in my brain about something that I would want in a sewing machine. And also like a little knee lever to lift up the foot when I'm done with like the project or I need to turn it. I feel like that would save time. But yeah, if you guys have any recommendations for sewing machines, I'd love to hear them. I'll be looking for one probably at the end of the year. But I'm so used to like this presser foot and the way that this machine works and my, you know, extension table, and I have all of my accessories for the Singer. So I don't know truthfully if I want to get another sewing machine, but you know, it's been in my head for a little bit. So I don't know, I might do it, I might not. But if you guys have any recommendations, I'd love to hear them in the comments, and just let me know your thoughts and what you think is a good sewing machine for kind of what I'm doing. I'd like to have something with a bigger throat space as well for when I quilt my actual quilts, because I don't want to bring them to a long armor. I will if I have to, but if I can just do it on my domestic sewing machine, I will. And I have before, but I just need something with a bigger throat space. So anyways, I'm rambling. You guys already know me. Okay, so this is our piece with the label there. And my zipper here, I'm gonna list the zippers in the comments because I feel like this is a #1 struggle that people have, is finding like these chunky zippers. And these are the YKK. I think they're the number 5. I will double check, but I'll put them in the comments, or not in the comments, in the description box down below for you guys. And I get them from Wall Walk. So that's where I get all of my zippers, are from Wall Walk, and they're great. I think it's like 2-day shipping. It's not bad. And maybe it's because I'm left-handed, but I always put my zipper openings. I don't know why my phone does that now. So weird. If I have it turned horizontal, it like goes to a clock and alternates. It's distracting. Anyways, I'm left-handed, so all of my zippers, like zipper openings, are always to the right. When I do my keychain wallets, they're always to the right. I don't know if that's how you guys do it as well, but I always wonder that, because there's a lot of things that, because I'm left-handed, I either do like backwards, or, you know, it's not the same as the right-handed folks. So let me know if you guys are left-handed and which way you put your zipper. So I've got all of that pinned together. It is just the outer piece, the zipper, and the liner. And now again, I'm going to go about a 2.5, because this is like a construction stitch. I don't know the terminology, but like it's a core stitch. So we don't, pretty much when I go to a 4, that's just for like decoration. So, all right. And we are just going to sew all of these 3 pieces together. Okay. And I switched out to my zipper foot, and we are going to sew these 3 pieces together. Bless you. I also forgot to mention, when I put all of these together here, the zipper is facing down. So make sure you have your zipper facing down, the outer piece, and then you do the zipper, and then you do the liner. Right sides facing each other. So now that these 3 are sewn together, you're going to move the liner to the back. And I just kind of like to give this a little press to make sure everything's flat and even. So we'll do that. And then we'll take our outer piece with our label there. I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to put this piece that has the zipper on it, and I'm going to put that right on there, lining up these outer pieces together. Get a clip. So we got that pinned together. Go. And then we'll take our other liner piece, and we're going to put it right sides together and line them up on the sides here, just the sides, and then we're going to line it up to the top of this zipper. And we've had some crazy rain these past couple of days, and it rains so much in such a short amount of time that the roads here, they're just flooding. And I don't know if that's like a infrastructure thing, or I don't know, but I've never seen like the roads flood like they have been recently. And it could be a combination of the both, but like the amount of rain that falls within an hour, it's just, everything is flooded. And then like within another hour, it's gone, just seeps into the ground. So now that we've got all of our pieces pinned together here, while we still have our zipper foot on, we're going to sew all of these pieces together. So we have all of our pieces sewn together here, and we are just going to open it up, bring that to the back there, and you should have something that looks like this. So we've got our 2 outer pieces with the label there, and then our 2 liners with the zipper in the middle. And we're gonna do a top stitch on both sides. So I'm gonna go back to the stitch length of a 4, and I keep my zipper foot on for this because I don't know, that's just like the measurement that I use. So what I like to do, let me bring this close to me. I will pull, if I can grab it, the liner, both sides, I'll pull those like tight, pretty much this first one here, just to make sure, you know, it's even there. And I'll set that right under this foot here. And I'll just go and do a little back stitching and just make sure that I'm keeping this liner and the top taut. And I'll just keep adjusting, making sure. All right, so then we'll do the same thing to the other side. I'm gonna pull the liner tight and this top piece, and we'll just flatten that out and go right under here. A little back tack, pull it tight. And that is going to be our top stitch done. And I love doing a top stitch. It just makes everything look cleaner. And it's just gonna hold that liner in place so it's not like flopping around. So we're just gonna trim these threads off. Okay, so now that we have our piece that looks like this, we're gonna take the 2 outer pieces and put them together. And we're gonna line them up. And I'll just put a couple clips, not too many, maybe like 3, just to keep it in place. And then we'll do the same thing on this side here. So we're just gonna line these up. And then we'll just put some clips there. And then we're just gonna do a straight stitch across there and a straight stitch down here. And again, I'm gonna go probably about a 2.5 on the stitch length. Okay, so now we have both of these sides sewn together. Move that out of the way again. We'll trim these threads. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll just get in this little pocket here, and I'm gonna flatten it out right in the middle here. And I'm gonna line this little seam with the middle of the zipper. And I'll put a clip just on one side, do it on the other. Flatten that out. And I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing with the liner. And I'm gonna line this seam up with the middle of the zipper. And just clip those 2 together. This is where I'm gonna have the top of the zipper. I'm gonna open it up inside the bag here. We'll leave that, and then that's when our little pull tabs are gonna come into play. And I use 2 of them, and the dimensions for these will be in the description box as well. So I like to keep it with the outer piece facing up, and we're just going to do a stitch along there, along the side here. And again, I just use my presser foot for my seam allowance. When I get close to the zipper here, I'm going to fold my little pull tab, and I'm going to tuck it into the bag here on the middle of the zipper, right on the edge where the fabric is. And I'm gonna go really slow right up almost to the zipper part. And I'm going to hand wind across the zipper because I've learned my lesson and broke a lot of needles just flying over that zipper. So we're just gonna hand turn it until we get past that zipper, and then we're just gonna go. Still slow, but that way I'm not going over the zipper with my foot pedal. I'm just hand turning it. And then that's how we'll get this part all sewn up, and your little pull tab is inside there. So we're gonna trim these threads off, and we'll do the same thing to the other side. So I'm close to that zipper again. I'm gonna get my pull tab, fold it in half, and I'm gonna tuck it inside. And you want the fold, so when I fold it in half here, this like rounded part is gonna go inside and the two open edges are gonna go out. So we're gonna tuck that right in there. Some people clip these. I just tuck them right in there, and then I don't have to use an extra clip for that. So I'm just gonna go right up against the zipper here, and we're gonna hand turn it. And if it gets stuck on like a zipper tooth, I just give it a little pull, and most of the time that works. So now we're past that, and I'm still gonna go slow. Just like that. Do a little back stitch. But I've got, these are the scissors that I use for my zippers, and I'm just gonna trim that right off. We'll throw that in the trash, and we'll do the same on this side here. Okay. So now both of our zippers on either side are trimmed off, and I'm going to bring you to my cutting table, and I'll show you how I cut my corners out. You guys can probably see a couple of them on my wall, but I have a lot of my measurements and stuff just printed out on regular paper, and I have them taped to my wall just in case I, forget something, or, I need to look at where I'm cutting the corners or anything like that. I just have them taped up here so I can just have a quick glance at them, make sure I'm not forgetting anything, or, whatever. So that's what I do. I think that's a great idea as well if you guys want to do something like that. So for my large essentials pouches, I cut the corners at 2 inches. And what I do, so you can see, like I have the edge of my fabric here, but the stitch line is a little bit in. So I line up my stitch line here to one of the lines on my cutting mat. And I finally did get a new cutting mat. I just got the one at Hobby Lobby, and it was sliding around before because the other side's like slick as well. But I just got some of these, they're like double-sided little foam sticky things, and I just put one on either side here just to keep it from moving around, and I think that's a great idea too. So anyways, we are going to, I've got my seam here lined up with this line, and we're going to go 2 inches in and 2 inches up. So I know some people like to write it out on there with like an erasable marker or pen or something, but I've learned it just takes too much time to do that. So this is how I do them here. We're just gonna make sure that this line is lined up with one of the lines here, and we'll go 2 inches in and 2 inches up. Come around here. Okay, and I'll turn it over, and we'll do the same thing. We're just gonna line up this stitch here with one of those lines. We'll go 2 inches in and 2 inches up. Sometimes there's little pieces in there. So we'll do that to this side, line it up there. We'll go 2. I'll come around, and we'll do 2. All right, so then you'll have all of your corners boxed out here. And what I've noticed before, because obviously when you're trimming them, you don't have like your back tack or your back stitching there to secure these threads. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring it back over to the sewing machine and just do a couple stitches back and forth on each of these sides here, just to reinforce and make sure that these stitches don't come out. Because what I was noticing before when I was doing them, when I would like turn it inside out, it's coming apart, and it was harder for me to like put the corners together like here for the French seams. So now I just know that I need to go back in and do a couple stitches on either of these sides here. So we're going to go do that at our sewing machine. So we're going to do those couple little stitches here just to keep those threads in place. It's literally, that's it. Oops, I gotta go this way. Duh. And that will just keep from these getting undone. Okay. And we'll trim these threads off. All right, and now what I do is I'll find like the zipper opening here, and I'll just put my hand inside, and I'm gonna open that zipper up. Let me go from this way. I'm gonna open that zipper up all the way, and I'm going to turn this slowly right side out because it's still a little fragile, and I don't want to rip any of those threads that I just did. And this is what I'm doing. I do French seams on my pouches. I just think they look nice. I've never done them with bias tape, and French seams are just, to me, it's the easiest way to do them. So we've got that now right side out, and I'll start in any corner, doesn't matter, and we're gonna flatten it out like this. And what we need to make sure is that we have both layers lined up. And I'll take a clip. I do about 3 just to make sure everything is together nicely. And I'll go on the opposite side. So you just want to make sure all of those are lined up there. And this is the first step of your French seam. So now what we're going to do is just do a straight stitch across all 4 of these corners here. And again, I'm just using my presser foot as the seam allowance. So I have all 4 of the corners sewn up. And before I move on to the next step, I will just turn it inside out and just double check myself to make sure there aren't any holes. Because if there is, then we need to go back and redo that seam. All right, so these are all good. So I'm going to trim the threads off. All right, and I'm also going to trim down a little bit of this extra bulk here. So just a bit, not too much, but it'll help in reducing the bulk when you do the last step of the French seam. I'll use these clips. So now that we have all of that trimmed down, we're gonna turn it inside out. And again, we're gonna poke out these corners here, and then we're going to pin that again. So if you have to do like a little rolling, you can do that too. And you can actually feel when you're doing this part, like the bulk, and when you're sewing them, like how far over you'll need to sew to close in that seam on the outside. So again, I'm just poking out the sides here, giving it like a little roll if I need to. And then we'll do like we did before, we're just gonna do a straight stitch across all 4 of these corners. And now we'll turn it right side out, and we'll just check our French seam just to make sure everything is perfect and there's no holes. Sometimes I just have some rogue threads. You just trim off, Just poke them out. All right, so that is going to be my tutorial on my version of the Boxy pouch. I call them essentials pouches, but this essentially it is a Boxy pouch, and it's got the French seams, which I love so much. I just think it gives it a finished look, and you don't have, you know, the raw edges or a bias tape in there, but to each their own. You know, we're crafting here, and everybody is allowed to do whatever they want. That's how I look at it. I know people say that there's like rules and stuff, which, you know, I get it. Maybe if you're seamstress or, you know, you're in a quilting competition, but over here we're just crafting and we're having a good time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it helped those of you who were interested in learning how I make them. And if you guys have any other questions about them, just let me know down below in the comments and I will happily answer them for you. But I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this Saturday, and don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you next week. Bye.